The Holy Gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ according to Luke.
Glory to you, Lord Christ.
Jesus was teaching in one of the synagogues on the Sabbath. And just then there appeared a woman with a spirit that had crippled her for 18 years. She was bent over and was quite unable to stand up straight. When Jesus saw her, he called her over and said, "Woman, you are set free from your ailment." When he laid his hands on her, immediately she stood up straight and began praising God. But the leader of the synagogue, ignited because Jesus had cured on the Sabbath, kept saying to the crowd, "There are 6 days on which work ought to be done. Come on those days and be cured, and not on the Sabbath day." But the Lord answered him and said, "You hypocrites, does not each of you on the Sabbath untie his ox or his donkey from the manger and lead it away to give it water? And ought not this woman, a daughter of Abraham, whom Satan bound for 18 long years, be set free from this bondage on the Sabbath day?" When he said this, all his opponents were put to shame, and the entire crowd was rejoicing at all the wonderful things that he was doing. The Gospel of Christ.
Praise to you, Lord Christ.
Be seated. Today's readings all intertwine with the purpose of God. And my theme for today will be, what is the Sabbath all about? But if we want to look at it from the perspective of what we read in Psalm 71, it gives us an insight of God's purpose for mankind. We hear the psalmist says, "In you, O Lord, have I taken refuge. Let me never be ashamed." I don't know if that was something that this woman was echoing in her heart each time she goes to the synagogue. And we see verse 6 says, "I have been sustained by you ever since I was born. From my mother's womb, you have been my strength. My praise shall always be in you." And then we see an Old Testament reading, whereby the prophet Jeremiah, as a young boy, was called to service. And in rejecting the call because of his age, we hear the Lord said, "I have known you since you were in your mother's womb. And I have anointed you in there that you will take my words forward." And we find out in the epistle reading, we hear, "But you have come to Mount Zion." Maybe we can underline Mount Zion as a place of worship where this woman comes. And here, see what happened there when she got there. "To the city of the living God." That's what this place is supposed to be. "The heavenly Jerusalem, and to innumerable angels in festal gathering, and to the assembly of the firstborn who are enrolled in heaven, and to God, the judge of all, and to the spirits of the righteous made perfect, and to Jesus, the mediator of a new covenant, and to the sprinkling blood that speak of better words than the blood of Abel." That speak of better words. I think this lady must have understood these readings, and she believed that her persistence on God will one day work. But let us look at it. Why the Sabbath? It was on the Sabbath day Jesus was teaching in one of the synagogue. The underlining word here, one of the synagogue. It was a Saturday. It was the 7th day of the week. It was the day God rested after 6 days of creation. It was the day that God strictly forbid all manner of work. It was the true Sabbath, the day God requested us from all manner of work. But how do we interpret God's intent concerning his law as spelled out in the Genesis story during creation? What was God's purpose? Why God decided to use the word Sabbath for us to rest? Sabbath itself was not a Sunday. It was not the day Jesus came out of the tomb. It was not the day the Christian church was established, and it was not Pentecost. What was Jesus saying in action and deed? What is he saying to those who were present in the synagogue? And what is he saying to us now in this present world? Jesus stopped at the middle of his sermon and attended God's most precious human being, the crippled lady. What triggered Jesus' mind when he gets a glance of the woman? How did Jesus recognize her amongst the congregation? I cannot tell you all of this why question. But certainly, this woman must have come to church late that morning, because it was during the time of the sermon, as Jesus can only recognize her. Not when every member of the synagogue were sitting and listening to the sermon. That's the case that comes right in front of her. The woman came to church. Jesus saw her striving her way into the church. I am convinced that Jesus did not notice her coming to church late. What I believe is not to encourage us to come late, but Jesus saw her struggling to find her way into the synagogue. What I believe is that her faith in coming to acknowledge God and to revisit God, to acknowledge her pain and suffering. She must have been irregular, like most regular people in our church who demand such assistance. We do it on the first Sunday, second Sunday, third Sunday, and we get tired of it. We just let her be herself in the church. She just struggled her way in. Nobody cares. 18 years going through this. They must have got tired of her. Let it be so, as always. But in our mind, in our heart, in our faith, my time will come when God will see me and God will see her through the lenses of Jesus Christ. I believe also that she must have been a worshiper and a constant person in the church, knowing that her sickness is permanent and she should live and manage her pain and suffering. Managing pain is part of our American lifestyle now. Billions of money is spent on elevating pain. Thousands of pain clinics. 1 out of every 5 advertisements is related to the remedy of pain, either an advice or how we can live, and how to live a pain-free life, and worse is pain medication that has created opium crisis in this country. Just because of pain. In critical studies of this woman, and as described from the text, she was sick, bent over, unable to walk normally. And worst of all, members were not concerned how she got to church and what seating accommodation was afforded to her. Here in the US, people of such are accommodated in all and every development. Building of a house, we have a ramp. Transportation, we have a bus that could take wheelchairs easily without getting them out of the wheelchair. A better pronounce has been made to call people of those effects, like blind people. We say they are referred to as sight impairment, or disability, or emotionally disturbed, or learning disability, mental disability. We no more use those nouns that we normally describe them: blind, deaf, and dumb. Jesus must have felt pity for her, seeing her fighting a sickness and in all begging herself, move on my body, I have to see my God. This is typical in our churches today. Stewards are neglecting those in need for those who are well off. We care not for people like this. We have seen it. We have noticed it. And if you are part of those stewards, those ushers, think about this woman whom Jesus saw, maybe because the synagogue neglected her. The reading this morning says, there appeared a woman. That means Jesus did not know her. A spirit that had crippled her for 18 years. She was bent over and was quite unable to stand up straight. She must have been attending this temple as a regular worshiper, but yet still the congregation did not recognize her. Looking through the eyes of the congregation, Jesus sees a woman who had been bent for 18 years. When Jesus saw her, he called her forward. Do not sit at the back. Come. Even come and take the place where I am, because there is provision for you today. For God has answered your prayer. Sometimes we spend so much time waiting on God, and we forget that 1,000 years in the eyes of God is like yesterday to us. And yet we give up, but she never gave up. In our text, we might get concerned if the preacher stops halfway through a sermon to do something else or violates the rules of the Sabbath. The story itself is centered on the breaking of the Sabbath law. Healing someone on the Sabbath, on this special holy day, caused intense friction and indignation, but Jesus did it anyway. In Exodus 35:2, we hear from the English Standard Version, 6 days of work shall be done, but on the 7th day you shall have a Sabbath, a solemn rest, holy to the Lord. Whoever does not walk in it shall be put to death. Exodus. So that's one of the alibi that we find out that Jesus did that's supposed to cause his death. We do not know this woman, and I suppose Jesus too. We do not know where she come from. Jesus too. We do not know why she appeared in the synagogue on that time, on this particular Sabbath day, as mentioned in our gospel reading, to show up that Jesus is here. Yes, this woman, not because she wants to avoid eye contact, or miss each morning sunshine, or forgot what the stars look like, but because she has no other choice but to bend and look down. St. Luke tells us that by the time the bent over woman encountered Jesus, she has been a cripple for 18 years. Can you imagine? I may not take myself out of it, but if 18 years a cripple is coming to this church, maybe I'll be the one to say it's just how it's supposed to be. But that's not what Jesus wanted. Jesus knew that the Sabbath was made for man and not man for the Sabbath. Jesus was the one who himself append his signature to the law of creation and the rest after creation. Jesus knew that what he said was not the effect of being not helping, but the basic want that does not demand Sabbath day, that we can put over for tomorrow. That's what the rest means, because the rest day itself said you should keep it holy. Now, how could we keep something holy? Seeing a man dying, where you can save him because it's the Sabbath. You turn your back around and say, you can die, I can do nothing. No, Jesus knew that the Sabbath itself is to help us. The way we help one another, make us holy in the sight of God. Jesus is teaching you what he meant when he said, woman, come forward. Jesus is calling us today to come forward. If you are at the back, as typical Episcopalian do or Anglican do, we love to sit at the back. But Jesus is asking us, there are better things ahead. Come closer. But what happened here, whilst he was preaching, all eyes on him, his own eyes were on this woman struggling to get into the church. That's what moves Jesus. No one cares about her. No one thinks to help her because she's a regular in that particular church. So Jesus asked her to come. During the process of coming, Jesus can see the strain, what it's all about. Jesus can tell how discomfort this woman was. This is the Jesus we serve. The Jesus who don't know Sabbath itself as long as it helps Jesus' own people, Abraham's own children, God's own accepted Gentile into his church. Yes, then the gospel tells us, Jesus laid his hands on her, and immediately she stood up straight and began. Look at the result. She began praising God. Just think about it. Think about it when somebody got some kind of sickness that you don't believe will receive health. And after the diagnosis, after the operation, that person becomes alive again. Think how joyful you may be. Think how joyful that person may be. So Jesus, after healing her, she came to the point where she started rejoicing, for God is good. For God is gracious. Don't give up. It may be longer than 18 years. It may be sooner, within a days. It is not your duty to tell when God should take action. It is God's desire. Because sometimes, you know how many generations have gone through to see this lady going through whereby nobody thinks she will get well. And when the DJ is in the house, the music is played. Jesus acted as the DJ this day. He played the music. Even though he was condemned there 6 other days for that such things, but Jesus said, not standing on ceremony, challenges the high priest to say, I think of it like this. Jesus is teaching them God's work. If I stop half the way through the sermon and said, right guys, let's stop here and go out into the community looking for the sick and the elders so we can find out who needs their garden trimmed or their lawn cut or their shopping done or a meal cooked, what would you say? Would you help them? Would you agree with your pastor? What would you think about? Would you think about the Sabbath? Or you untie your donkey on the Sabbath and let it drink water. So why not untie the cord of illness that have bound this woman for 18 years on the Sabbath day? You are doing some kind of work. His opponents were humiliated by the ordinary people, delighted with the wonderful things that he was doing. Jesus has renewed the law. He has shown them God's intent, that it is not that you should not work, but when it comes to humanity, you have to embrace it. On one occasion, even in this same gospel reading, Jesus was saying the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. Chapter 2 of verse 27. In the 10 Commandments given to Moses, God said, observe the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. Work 6 days, but not the Sabbath. The underlying word is not to observe the Sabbath by not working, but keeping it holy. That's what it says here in the 10 Commandments. So how do you keep this Sabbath holy? Would you let your son die of bleeding because it's the Sabbath and let all his blood run out of his system? The Sabbath is for rest, or maybe recreation, or maybe recreation. A young lad preparing to write his essay wanted to know how the rest on the Sabbath, when for me it is a day of work. He asked me that question. Why you said Sabbath got on Sunday, which most people believe the Sabbath is Sunday. And I know we'll go now and know it's not Sunday. And he said, why? You said to rest, Father. I said to him, my rest day is on Tuesday. I might have breakfast at the club. I might go for a sightseeing walk or cook dinner or whatever. But I love it because I keep it holy. Or maybe I may watch a movie or I may rest and read a book. I also play sport, tennis, on my Sabbath day. That doesn't mean I'm not observing the Sabbath. My friend and his essay writing son thought that was interesting. Playing and watching sport is one of the ways that I relax and rested. Everything out of the world is pushed aside and I feel so at myself. What about you? What about us? The Sabbath was made for you and not vice versa. You may choose any day you want as your Sabbath. The day you feel like resting. The day you feel like doing good. The day you take things to those in need. Shelters to those who don't have homes. Chairs to those who don't have a place to sit. Bed to those who don't have a bed to sleep. The day you take warm clothes to them when it's cold. The day you put on boots so that they may not put on slippers, so that they may keep themselves warmer. That's your Sabbath. That's what God wants from you. That's how God sees his people. He sees you. And that's what God's demand of you. Your Sabbath could be taking care of your elderly, your parents who have lived a ripe life and need you each day, each moment, each second by their side. That could be your Sabbath. You enjoy it so that you may pass it on to your children who sees how much you take care for your elderly ones. That could be your Sabbath. The day you rest and say, today's mommy's day. Sometimes when our parents get older, we count the children. If we are 7, each one got 1 day out of that 7 days a week. And we go there in the morning and stay there until the day ends when she goes to bed. We look over her. We kiss her. We tell how much we love her. We embrace her. That's it. That's your Sabbath. You were made for the Sunday. Sunday was not the day of the Sabbath. It's the day the Christian form this fellowship of Jesus' resurrection. It is the day we understand what Jesus is all about. It's the day we believe in hope that he will come back again, the second advent, so that we may be judged according to our works. A day of rest, maybe, or a day of creation, making new things, looking at God. What does that mean for Sunday worship? Can I worship God as I go out on my running errand? Yes, I do. I don't know for you. Sometimes it re-energizes you. Sometimes it gives you a new knowledge of things. As you do your recreation, you think about it. How could I make it possible for this church to grow? Maybe it is through that tennis play that you start attracting other people. And you too attract them to the church. And they become members of the church. Maybe it's the hiking we took. We got to a certain point where we have to relax and wait. And we start introducing ourselves. And somebody said, you know what? It's been a while. I've not been in church. And you say to that person, why not come and see what Jesus can do for you? But the first time that person comes in, he doesn't come because of the sermon. He doesn't come because of the reading. He doesn't come because of the music that is being played, the choir that sing. He comes in to come back when he's first recognized as he enters the church. How do we welcome him? That's Jesus. If Jesus could welcome you right at the entrance and say, come in, you have achieved the greatest hope in life. I leave you with the saying, may you see others as Jesus see them. May you have pity for them as Jesus had pity for this lady and give her the health that she needs. You may not have the skills. You may not have the gift. You may not have what it takes to give one health. But just be there. That's important. Just hold her hands or his own hands. Just welcome her. Just offer him the hymn book. Just show him which places of the hymn book he should turn. You have welcomed God's children. If you have never done it before, if you have seen people suffering out there in the street, in your neighborhood, around the Beltway, whatever places you may find yourself, be guarded. Don't say, Father said I should go and do good and you get yourself all killed. But do what you can. Like we talk, how can we do good to those who stand by the wayside, begging, homeless? And we came to the conclusion in my church, always if you feel like today is your day of Sabbath of doing good, make sure you have your $1 outside your purse and put it just by your compartment and crank your door a little bit and get that $1 out. Don't open your purse in front of them. You may invite trouble for yourself. That's what it is. Don't allow anyone to come inside the church if you are alone. Let there be a place where you can offer some food or whatever to that person and invite that person when everybody is around. That's how we do good. But at the same time, we secure ourselves. Our world is getting out of hands. We are killing each other every day. I don't know if you watch the TV as I do, and I flip from one channel to another. I don't have one particular channel. I look at Fox, I look at MSNBC, I look at CNN, I look at all. And sometimes looking at them, you may think you are in another country, because what you get from one is different from what you got from the other one. And all of these things are happening because we filter the news now. What's convenient for this network is what is being shown. But they are beating people every day in New York, believe me or not. They are breaking into stores, beating people. And sometimes at the end, your store who is being broken is the one that the government will arrest to go to jail first. That's the society we live. That's the world we live. So even our property, we don't own it anymore. We are getting to the point when we will open our doors and windows and say everybody may come in and sleep and have a good time. I will have my own little corner with my children because I don't own the house. All of us owns it. We are getting to there. May God help us as Jesus did for this woman. May God give us strength so that we may do likewise. And as we live today, remember, Jesus is looking at you to know what you can do for those in need.